What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this. Beautiful, delicious, smoky, cheesy, scratch-made, amazing smoked mushroom Swiss burger on homemade pretzel buns. Coming up. This is some meat. Ooh. Yee. Pat them dry. And what I got here is 2 chuck roasts. Picked these up at my local HEB. They are in fact the Wagyu from HEB, and they're just so pretty I couldn't resist. And you know what? If you're gonna be making burgers from scratch, you might as well make some really awesome burgers. But simply enough, I'm just gonna cube these up. These are extra fatty, so we should have some really good burgers. Beautiful marbling on that. But just like making sausage, we're gonna cube these up into little pieces so they freeze nice and quickly, and of course fit into our meat grinder, especially with the half horsepower meat grinder that I'm going to be using. Sending giant pieces of almost frozen meat through there can be pretty tough on it, so the smaller the better, I've found. If you have a higher power grinder, like if I was going to use the 1.5, I'd probably just leave it in strips because then they can just pull their way through, but again, you just got to get to know your meat grinder. Beautiful. I also trimmed up a brisket yesterday, so got a whole bunch of brisket trim on hand. Might as well throw that through the grinder as well. Get a nice little chuck brisket blend. But as always, you can do whatever you want for making burgers, you know. Just brisket works really well. Just chuck works really well. You throw some short rib in there, whatever you want. Extra scraps, I think all that should be fine. And there we go. Nice pile of meat. Got some good fat content in there, so we should end up with some nice juicy burgers. So I'm gonna pile this all onto this sheet tray here and pop this in my freezer for the next 30 minutes or so to make sure these are nice and cold. Now that our meat is sufficiently chilled, through the meat grinder we go. I'm going through the coarse die today, just for a classic, kind of thick burger grind, nothing too fine. Beautiful, nice, pebbly, clean grind on that, gotta love it. And I'm gonna go ahead and send this through one more time. And that's just gonna make sure that any big pieces that may have made it through get ground up. It's gonna give it a slightly more consistent grind, spreading the fat evenly. And it's also gonna mix the meat a little bit. If you think about it, like when we make sausage or meatloaf, we always mix it a lot by hand to get it extra tacky, to make sure it all binds together. Same principle here, but a lot less, because we don't wanna mix it too much and have a tough burger. So, double grind makes for a perfect burger if you're using the coarse die, in my opinion. So, simply enough, just gonna crumble it through. Beautiful. Next up, we're gonna try and grab perfect half pound of meat. Not even close. Because we're making some big boy half pound burgers today. And just keep forming balls until we've got Meatball Mountain. And then, final step, bust out the old burger press, get some patty paper, and give these things their nice final shaping. Obviously, you could hand form these, but when it comes to burgers, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. You know, I really like them to be completely round, uniform, and also very consistent. Makes cooking them a lot easier. And they just look good. You know, a perfectly round burger on a perfectly round bun. Come on. Also, I'm doing this on camera, so they gotta look good. Not much to it. And just like that, our beautiful patties are formed. This video is brought to you by Zbiotics. Zbiotics is the world's first pre-alcohol probiotic drink designed by PhD scientists to help tackle that rough morning after drinking. And I gotta say, it's been a long, hot summer. Right now, my little thermometer says it's 139 degrees, although it is magnetized to a hot piece of steel in direct sunlight. But that being said, having a couple of cold beverages on set while I'm making these videos is very necessary. But as you know, the morning after a night out can be really rough and makes it really difficult to get back to work and stay consistent and stay productive. But that's where Zbiotics is here to help. Basically how it works is when you drink alcohol, there's a toxic byproduct created in your gut called acetaldehyde. And it's that byproduct, not just dehydration, that is the cause of the rough mornings. But Zbiotics produces an enzyme to break down acetaldehyde, just like your liver does, but in your gut, where you need it most. And to use it could not be much more simple. Grab yourself a little bottle, give it a shake. Make sure that this is your first drink of the night. Proceed to have a wonderful time. Get a good night's rest, drink plenty of water, and in the morning you'll be feeling better than ever. And I gotta say, I've been using Zbiotics for a long time now, and it really does work. And if you live a busy lifestyle like me, I highly recommend keeping some on hand so you don't have to sacrifice a good time. Labor Day is right around the corner, folks, and if you want to give Zbiotics a try for yourself, go to zbiotics.com/chudsbbq, where you can use code chudsbbq at checkout to get 15% off your first order. Again, that's zbiotics.com/chudsbbq, link in the description, or scan the code on screen now, where you can use code chudsbbq at checkout to get 15% off your first order. Thank you, Zbiotics. Next up, let's go ahead and make some buns, starting with some warm water, some white sugar, and some milk powder. Give that a quick little mix. A lot of people ask me why I put milk powder in this recipe, and that's because I rarely have milk on hand, but I always have milk powder because it never goes bad in the pantry. So adding water and milk powder together is just an easier way for me to make a recipe like this instead of having to go out and buy a small amount of milk. Next up, we'll go in with our yeast. At this stage, you could let this bloom, but I just bought this, so I know it's good. So we're gonna go ahead and continue on by going in with some bread flour, some kosher salt, some dough conditioner. Got that on Amazon. Just helps make this a little more like an industrial bread you're gonna get at the grocery store. And give that a little mix. And once a shaggy dough is formed, we're gonna go in with our Wagyu beef tallow, courtesy from our friends over at South Chicago Packing. And now, let this mix on medium speed for about 5 to 6 minutes. Beautiful. And once a nice smooth dough has emerged, into a grease bowl it goes. Cover this in plastic wrap and let this rise for the next hour to hour and a half. While we wait for that dough to rise, let's go ahead and bust out our topping for these burgers, which is going to be some sauteed onions and mushrooms. But first we're going in with some butter. Just going to let that melt down gently. And then in with our onions. And we'll hit that with a nice big fat pinch of salt. And once these have softened down just a little bit, we're going to go in with all of our mushrooms. May seem like a lot, but these things are definitely going to shrink up on us. Hit that with another little pinch of salt. All right, and after just a little bit, these are cooked down, looking very nice. Got a little fond built up on the bottom, but nice caramelization. Nothing's looking burnt, which is great. So now I'm going to go in with a few optional ingredients, starting with a little shot of some soy sauce, just to add a little more seasoning, a little umami, a little je ne sais quoi. And I'm also going to go in with some of this demi-glace. Picked this up at the grocery store, mostly because we're going to add this to our sauce down the road a little bit, but I figure I might as well add a little bit of beefiness to these as well. And then lastly, to deglaze this pan, I'm going to go with a little bit of water just to clean the pan a little bit. And once everything is cooked down nice and soft and you taste it and it is tasting as good as you want it to taste, our sauteed onions and mushrooms are done. Set these aside till later. After a nice rise, we can see our dough has doubled in size. So out it comes. Boop. So we're gonna go ahead and portion this out into 100-gram dough balls. Beautiful. Still a little sticky, so throw down a little flour, make things easier. And then just like every tortilla or dough ball or bun we ever make, we're gonna tuck all the seams to the underside, giving us a nice smooth round top, just like that. And then give it the old roly-poly to make sure it's nice and round and nice and tight. And there we go, nothing to it. And now we're gonna throw a damp towel over the top of these to make sure they don't dry out and let these proof and rise for another probably 30-40 minutes. Now for our buns today, we're not just making regular buns, we are in fact making pretzel buns. So we need to go ahead and get our lye solution ready. Starting with going into a bowl here with 4 cups of water. And then we want to bust out the food grade lye, aka sodium hydroxide. And for every 4 cups of water, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of this stuff. And this is essentially really high powered baking soda, but it can be dangerous because it's very caustic. So do this at your own risk. You should probably wear some gloves and be sure to do your own research to see if this is the right solution for you. If not, baking soda also works, just not nearly as well. So now I'm gonna whisk this up until nice and dissolved. And as you can see, these are looking nice and plump and nice and fluffy. So now I'm gonna gently try and pick these up with my gloved hands. And we're gonna just dip right into the lye solution, just for a couple seconds on each side. And basically that's what makes a pretzel a pretzel. The alkalinity is gonna affect the exterior, meaning that they're gonna brown up a lot quicker in the oven, which is why pretzels are so nice and dark on the outside. All right, just taking my time, don't wanna splash this in my eye. That would be not ideal. And just get these all knocked out. I've never actually made pretzel buns before, so I really hope this is what they're supposed to look like. Looking definitely a little deflated, but that's all right. They'll probably spring back up in the oven. So now I'm gonna take my little bread slicer here and give these the classic pretzel bun X slice right across the top, if I can. Just deflating these even more. Definitely not my best work with those X's, but I think it'll be all right. Now we're gonna top these with some pretzel salt. Gotta be done. Probably not gonna go nearly as heavy as if I would on an actual pretzel, because that would be a lot of salt on a burger. It's already salty. Alrighty, just like that, into a 375-degree oven these go for the next probably 20 minutes. And while those bake off, I think it's time to fire up the pit. One of these days, I'm gonna pull that snake right out of my boot, and I'm gonna twist him into a little pretzel. And just like that, out of the oven they come, looking absolutely beautiful. So I'm gonna set these aside to cool down for a little bit. All right, at long last, it is burger time. Got these beautiful patties looking wonderful. A little reshaping, but nice thick half pounder. Gotta love that. Been a minute since I made a thick boy burger. I tell you what, I think the Juicy Lucy was the last one. And that was fantastic. Check out that video if you haven't. And as for seasoning, I'm going with some good old-fashioned SPG. Just a nice heavy coating all the way around. But just like at Leroy & Lewis, nice heavy coating. And try not to forget the sides, folks. Come on. Boop, boop, boop. Rookie move. Looking good to me. Let's throw them on the pit. Got this pit rocking pretty hot right now. Looking about 275, 300 degrees, which is fine with me. And on we go. Probably choke that damper down a little bit, get some extra smoke on these and knock that temperature down closer to 250. But again, that's really up to you depending on how smoky you want your burger to be. So I'm gonna take these up to about 120. We'll check back in. For our burger sauce today, I'm taking a page out of Whataburger's book. They do a creamy au jus sauce. And for me, that's gonna be some Japanese mayonnaise and some of that demi-glace from earlier. Just keeping it real simple. Ooh. Yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty tasty and so simple. Looking good to me. And just like that, off the pit these come. Took them a little closer to 130, but that should be just fine. And I think it's time for a burger. Beautiful buns. Got the old Chud press fired up. Get these buns toasted off. Beautiful crust on that. Ooh. And there we go, not much to it. Gotta say, these are some beautiful looking burgers. Let's go ahead and get a cross section on this guy, shall we? Ooh, looking nice and juicy. Oh, and there it is, folks. A beautiful pretzel bun, a whole bunch of sauteed onions and mushroom with some beautiful Swiss cheese. And of course, our beefy mayonnaise. Doesn't really get much better than this, folks. We ground our own beef, made our own scratch-made pretzel buns, a cheesy, mushroomy burger. Oh, I gotta dive in. I have been waiting for this one for a while, folks. Ever since I threw it on the old Chud calendar, I knew that this was gonna be a tasty one. Nice, squishy, soft pretzel bun, tons of mushrooms and onions. By the way, I've been snacking on those sauteed mushrooms and onions for the last hour or so. They are absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend giving those a try. Super beefy, very flavorful. But, alas, let's dive in. Oh my God. Wow. The first note I get is just Maillard. Deep, beefy umami flavor to this. You know, there's something so meaty about mushrooms. You got a little bit of sweetness from those sauteed onions. That sauce bringing that extra punch and that demi-glace throughout. This is a true steakhouse burger right here. This is, whew, I gotta go for another one. That with the pretzel bun too, adding that extra layer of pretzel toastiness. Oh, that is phenomenal. Nice and juicy too. Beautiful tender patty. There's just so many layers of richness from that butter toasted bun to the smoky, hard seared patty. You got the cheeses on there. Every layer is just super rich and super tasty. It is so good. I swear, even if you don't like mushrooms, you'll like this burger. Unbelievable. Just a true flavor bomb. Definitely making this one again. It's like the Leroy & Lewis burger's slightly more sophisticated cousin. And it's funny because it's unlike every burger I always make. You know, there's no pickles on here. I may or may not have snuck a piece of white American on there to get that goo factor. But the caramelized onions and the mushroom just, it's a completely different burger. Oh, it's so good. Just gonna keep going. It's an experience right there, folks. Definitely gotta give this one a try.
A burger.
Would you like to try my mushroom Swiss?
Yeah, that looks delicious.
It's real good. I mean, let me know what you think.
Okay, unbiased. Ooh, that's good. It's rich.
Yeah, it's meaty.
I want to keep eating it, but I'm
savory.
scared.
Do you know who I think might really appreciate this burger?
Paul?
The official taste tester. Now, we're not sure if dogs are allowed to eat mushrooms, and I know they're definitely not supposed to eat onions. And she just doesn't like Swiss, she told me one time. So I got just a nice little piece of patty right here for the official taste test.
Beep.
Telling you guys, if you haven't smoked a burger patty before, I mean, this one's still pretty medium rare because it's just been smoked and not seared, but whew, smells so good. Great way to cook a burger. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make an absolutely incredible, smoky mushroom Swiss burger on a homemade pretzel bun. And I highly recommend this burger. It's a great change of pace. It really is a nice, hearty burger. I think my dad would like this burger. Anyone who likes a lot of red meat and mushrooms and just a beefy bite, this is a burger for them. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you do give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. I'd love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace.